So another lesson on article or no article. Now, remember that articles are used with countable nouns and no article is used with uncountable or plural nouns sometimes, because sometimes it becomes definite and we use the instead of no article, even with uncountable nouns. But I want to show you the difference between countable and uncountable. Today I'm going to talk about quantity and concept. Because if we deal with anything which is quantifiable, then it's countable. And so we're dealing with the article form. Anything which is a quantity will be countable. It is countable because it's a quantity. So if we're speaking about a speed of 50 miles an hour, a distance of 3 kilometers, a mass of 3 kilograms, an acceleration of 100 meters per second, a force of 50 newtons, all of these are quantities, and so they're being used countably. I hope that's clear. However, when a maths teacher is describing this relationship, he will probably use no article. He'll probably say speed equals distance over time, or force equals mass times acceleration. And it's because here we're speaking about the general concepts. We're saying that the concept of force is equal to the concept of mass and multiplied by the concept of acceleration. And so here we definitely use no article. However, as soon as we start to make things definite, then we do need the. So we would say the force on an object is equal to the mass of the object multiplied by the acceleration of the object. And here we would use the every time, because here the force is being defined. The force on an object is equal to the mass of the object multiplied by the acceleration of the object. Okay? Remember that when we introduce, we use an, and then we go on the second time and the third time to use the. So that rule is very clearly shown here as well. However, as soon as we come on to quantifying the speed or the distance or the mass, very often we'll use the indefinite article. Not necessarily always, because if we use it, for example, in the subject of the sentence, the speed of the car was 50 miles an hour, then we would need the, because that's a kind of definition there, and we've got it as the subject. But the car was travelling at a speed of 50 miles an hour. Okay, or the object, or the sun weighs a mass of 5 million tons, or whatever it is. Then we would need this indefinite article. And I mention it because so many times when I'm looking at a newspaper article to pull it apart and look at why we're using a and the and no article, a is very often used with quantities. An increase of, a decrease of, a jump of, a rise in, a fall of, a drop in temperature, something like that. Very often we'll see an being used before nouns of quantity. Now let's have a look at some of these other concepts here. Anytime you're dealing with a very general, and this is quite rare being honest, but a kind of mathematical definition of, let's say, the area of a circle, then we would deal with length, width, radius, circumference in an uncountable way when we're describing that relationship. Something like area equals length squared if we're dealing with a square. Something like that. However, as soon as we start to make it definite, we'll need a definite article, and if we're dealing with quantities, we certainly say this triangle has a length of 12 centimeters on the hypotenuse, or something like that. A length of, because we're quantifying it, a width of. And I wanted to show you that this is similar to countable and uncountable space, because space is countable or uncountable depending on the situation. And so if we're dealing with the cosmos, the universe, space and time, it's certainly uncountable. It's a physical concept. We're coming back to this concept. So we can say space and time are curved, or we could say there's no more space in the office, and here it's uncountable. but we could say there is a parking space at the end on the right, or do you have a space for me in your timetable, or something like that. You can say, do you have space as well for me in your timetable? So here's where it gets very well, it's your choice. You could use it uncountably or countably there. Do you have a space? Do you have space? I would say both are possible there. And room. A room will always be a room in a building. Room number 1, room number 2, room number 3, a bathroom, a bedroom. But room can also mean like space. There's no more room in the office. There's no more space in the office. Do you have room for one more person? Something like that. Then it just means the space in a general sense. Not an area, but a general sense of space. Okay, I hope that's all clear for these quantities, and please remember this box. It's very important. You'll see it all the time with A. In the next lesson, we're going to look at abstract nouns used countably and uncountably, because that's usually where most of the confusion is with article or no article. Thanks for watching this lesson. Please click on like if you've enjoyed it, and leave any questions that are relevant to this topic under the video. I'll do my best to answer all of you. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.